Hi friend, happy Friday Eve. Before we start this video, I just want to thoroughly apologize for the lack of videos the past 2 weeks. I originally went on vacation and then ended up in urgent care, so it was definitely a vacation to remember, let's just say that. I'm so excited to just be back and being normal again. Like, it's just so nice to be able to sit here and chat with you all. And I also want to apologize for the fact that I opened the floor up to y'all and asked if you wanted more chatty videos or voiceover videos, and the resounding response was chatty videos, and I'm here with another another voiceover video. That was not my intention. It just happened to already be like that. And unfortunately, the following video is also going to be a voiceover video. I had previously filmed these and was excited to get these out for y'all while I was on vacation, but as you now know, I was very, very ill. So that is just the lineup for the next, but then I promise I will take your advice into account and actually start doing more chatty videos, because I do like chatting with y'all. I like to just sit there and kind of walk you through what I'm thinking in that moment versus what I already know. I feel like when I'm doing these voiceovers, I already know what's going to happen, and that's not as fun. So enough jabbering, let's get into the video. So this video is a video I've been putting off for a very, very long time because, as you know, I'm very superstitious. And if you don't, hi, my name is Gabby. I make all things sourdough content, and if that is something that you enjoy, clearly because you're here, then please stick around. I'd love to have you. But one thing you should know about me is I'm very superstitious. I don't stray from anything that I've done since day one that's resulted in a positive bake, and it terrifies me to change. But unfortunately, I got sucked down a beautiful sourdough rabbit hole because, again, as you know, I am still trying to figure out the best way to score my bread. I don't love the way it looks. I don't particularly feel proud of it when it comes out of the oven, and I've been asking y'all for ages on the best scoring that you possibly have, and I'm still waiting on some answers to that. So if you would like to leave a comment and let me know your favorite creators or videos that you watch, or just different ways that you score your bread, I would love to know. But all in that is to say that I got sucked down a rabbit hole of beautiful bread, and I found the sourdough that everyone posts about that has the little swirls on it. I'll try to include a picture at some point in this video of it, and I was like, how are people doing this? And I realized they're literally just putting their bread in the banneton basket with some flour and letting it sit there without using like the tea towel insert that is included in rattan banneton baskets. And so I tried that, and it was beautiful. I came out with a great result. I loved it, and I would do it again, but unfortunately it did create black mold in my banneton basket, and that is something you actually don't want. I don't know if you know that, but that's actually terrible. So I was down a banneton basket, and I had some orders I needed to complete before I left for vacation, and so it couldn't have come at a more perfect time, but I had been gifted some 9-inch round proofing baskets from T-Mars. So they're made of BPA-free food-grade silicone, which sounds like a fancy way of saying that they're good to eat. They don't actually include mold. Because they're made of silicone, they're easy to wash. They're a little bit smoother, so you're able to get in the cracks when cleaning things. In a regular rattan banneton basket, you know, you've got the spirals and things can get stuck in between. And I will say I did my very, very best to clean it out the first time it happened, but I wasn't able to like get through the cracks, and that is what I think really led to my downfall, if I'm honest. And so I was super excited to try this out. This is, again, something I was scared to do because I didn't, one, have the funds, and two, because I'm superstitious. But this was like literally like God saying, hey, we're going to do this. Get out of your head. So that is what we did. And I've tried to make this as much of a science experiment as I possibly could. One thing you should know about me is I never won the blue ribbon at the science fair growing up. I did my absolute best, but I was never the girly with the blue ribbon, and that's totally fine. But I tried to make this as similar to a science experiment as possible. So as you saw in the first bake, I made a lemon blueberry loaf, and I will spoil the outcome here and let you know that 2 out of 3 are lemon blueberry loaves. The second loaf that you see me making here is actually an order that I needed to complete, and I was putting full trust in the fact that I was using the silicone Banneton basket versus my regular. At that point, I had already used the regular. I had it in the fridge already to be proofing for the next day, and so there was just a little bit too much going on. Poor planning on my part. Again, frazzled brain before vacation is a real thing, and I fell victim to that, unfortunately, and I just put all my trust in this process, and I'm glad that I did, honestly, because look at the rise on that. I've never had a rise that tall. This dough is a little bit more putty-like, I would say. I think having the lift and the rise in the dough almost made it to where it was more pliable and more malleable, whereas when I'm using my rattan basket, it's very hard and dense when it comes out, and it takes me a little while to get to this size. But as I was saying, I've tried to make this as close to a science experiment as possible, so I've tried to keep the controllables as controllable as possible. So 2 out of 3 loaves are lemon blueberry loaves, and I use my same exact sourdough recipe that I always use. If you are unfamiliar with it, or this is your first time seeing me, again, hi, my name is Gabby. I have a video on the exact recipe that I use and all the steps that I take. So if you're newer to the sourdough world and you're just trying to get a good idea of what is needed, I would recommend watching that video and then coming back to this, and then you can kind of mix and match what you need to start your sourdough journey. Like I said, I tried to keep all the controllables controllable, and so the first sourdough loaf that you saw was a lemon blueberry, as we talked about. That is going to be the next loaf coming up. Again, this one's just special because it was an order and I needed to get it out before I left, but you heard the sound that it made on the bottom of the loaf. You saw the beautiful golden color that it created, the height that it was at, the size that it was at, and the distribution of all of the different inclusions that I put inside. And I would say it was a really good loaf. Again, it's nothing that I ever stray from. It's nothing that I am just going out of my way to make different. That should have been a perfect loaf, and it was. The second loaf, as you saw, had a great golden color. It was a little bit taller than anything I've ever made, or I'm used to making. The size was a little bit smaller, and I think that comes down to the fact that the 9-inch is a little bit smaller than the 10-inch one I'm used to using for the rattan basket. But I will say, being able to insert my little tea towel, I just call it a tea towel. I don't actually know what it is. If you actually know, please let me know. But I inserted that and then just used it as regular, and I think it turned out super well, honestly. I got feedback that it was the best sourdough loaf they've ever had, so I would highly recommend doing that, taking a tea towel and or insert that you have from your rattan Banneton basket and putting inside this silicone basket. I will say, traveling, I did take this down with me because every time I go home, everyone wants a loaf or something sourdough related. So I always bring home sourdough stuff. And if you're as superstitious as me, you've got this bowl, you've got your salt, you've got your tablespoon, you've got your Banneton baskets. You also have the bag that goes over the Banneton baskets, as well as your sourdough starter and then your Dutch oven. It becomes a lot. So being able to take this foldable silicone Banneton basket home with me was a life changer. And I'm not even trying to be dramatic here. When you have luggage plus your sourdough luggage, it becomes a bit excessive. And being able to fold this down to a little disc, it makes it so much easier to not only bring with you and travel with, but it literally just makes storage so much easier. And it really just opened me up to the possibilities of traveling more with sourdough. Long term, I would like to be able to just have my essentials with me, trying to make it to where it's more accessible and easier to travel with, because we have a car, and traveling with 2 suitcases plus a dog and our sourdough essentials, it becomes a little bit of a lot. I will say, this is where things got a little bit interesting. As you can see, my dough is very, very wet. I'm adding flour consistently to roll this out, and that's not normal for my usual sourdough. I will say there's been times where recently in the summer my sourdough has been a little bit wetter, and you can see that in videos. Sometimes there's water in the bottom of my bowl when I'm doing my stretch and folds, and that's unusual. I first started sourdough in the winter, so I'm used to it being dense and a little bit less malleable, whereas in the summertime I've noticed it expands a little bit more, grows, it's a little bit wetter and stickier. But this dough, I simply could not get to be the desired elasticity that I was looking for. And I think that's possibly what went wrong here. And since this video, I've tried using this Banneton basket since, and I will say it has gotten 10 times better. I was actually running errands at the time that I was doing my second and third stretch and fold, and my sweet, sweet husband did them for me, and that wasn't uncontrollable, and I'm sorry about that. I think maybe that's what led to the elastic, stretchy dough that you saw there. I'm not quite sure, but I will say since then it's gotten a lot better, and it didn't really look like this in the end result. Let's just say that. But again, I'm going to follow through with the video. I didn't know anything different. I didn't expect anything different. But as you can see, like, just tipping it over was not enough. I had to fully crinkle this silicone basket just to get the dough out. And that is not normal. Even when I put the sourdough in the rattan Banneton basket that I was using, it came out 10 times quicker than that. Like, I was fully forcing this dough out, and that's not normal. It wasn't even like it was elastic either. It was almost like it was hard and dense like my rattan basket was, but it was wet and sticky. So I don't know best to describe that, but it was just one of those things where I think it might have been a little bit of a fluke. There was some uncontrollables that happened, as well as it just being a whole new type of process. And I think that is what ended up really doing in the final issues that we had with this sourdough loaf. But like I said, using the little tea towel insert, I think created just a little bit of a better barrier, as well as soaked up any of the water in the dough and allowed it to rise the way that it should have risen. Whereas without the tea towel, just putting your dough in plainly with flour. I will say make sure you put flour in with your dough if you're putting it directly in a Banneton basket. I don't care if it's a rattan basket. I don't care if it's a silicone basket. I don't care if it's a random basket you found on the road. Actually, I do care about that. Don't do that. Let's wash it first. But I would say always putting flour in, because otherwise your dough is going to stick. Duh. That makes total sense, but it was something that I needed someone to tell me first. So if you are thinking about trying the Pretty to Design, or you want to try this out and just use silicone, I would recommend please, please, please put flour in beforehand. Otherwise, your dough will stick 10 times more than mine did. But I don't know how else to explain what happened. It's small. The sound is not as hollow as you want it. It's short. It's got a little bit of the golden, but you can see it literally flattened down like a pancake. And it was very difficult to cut into this bread. There's no pockets of air. There's one at the top. And I think that was a fluke, honestly. And it just wasn't the way that you would want your bread to turn out, unfortunately. And I hate that this is how it turned out, but that's life. It was my first trial. Again, like I said, I've been working with it since. And I was able to get a proper rise and bake out of my dough. I would recommend trying this out if you are on a little bit of a tighter budget, because rattan Banneton baskets are a little bit more pricey. This comes in a full kit. I didn't show you the full kit, but it comes with a 9-inch round as well as a 10-inch oval proofing basket. This score that you would need comes with a glass sourdough starter as well as a spatula. Get your sourdough off the sides of your glass sourdough starter container, and then it also comes with a spatula, so you're able to like move your bread on the counter easily. I will say it's a great starter kit. I know we talked recently about essentials for sourdough, and I think this would be a great way to start. The only things I would recommend from using this product is put some type of tea towel and or insert into your Banneton basket, or if you want the same type of bread that I'm used to making, make sure you're putting flour in and stretching and folding accordingly, making sure that you're aware of what season you're in and you're adjusting your bread and your bake according to that, because you don't have the insert absorbing up any of the extra liquid and or water growing in your bread overnight. So that is all I have for y'all this week. Again, so sorry for the lack of video last week and the week before that. There was a lot going on, but I'm so happy to be back. And I love baking for y'all. Next week will be the July roundup, as it is the end of July now. It's the middle of August, so we are just getting a little bit of a late head start into August, but I'm so excited for what's going to come. And I'm just so happy that y'all are here. And I will see y'all in the next one.